So Blessman Welcome on one of Vermont's all-time leading scorers. He's now made the transition using his extra year eligibility to become the newest member of St. John's. Stef Smith, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Well, kind of takes this transition. We know now you're committed, you're signed. St. John's will be playing now. It will be your final college year. How excited for this?
Man, I'm really excited. It's a great opportunity for me, obviously, to play at a high major level, kind of challenge myself and see what I'm made of.
And obviously, this wasn't always something that you could have had. We know the rule got passed where you guys have an extra year eligibility, which is awesome because we know obviously COVID affected a lot of you guys, especially your team too. Take us
hmm
through this, like, what your reaction was when you first found out that you could have an extra year. Were you originally planning on using that, or kind of take us through what your thoughts were when that first came into play?
Yeah, when I first got told by one of my coaches, it kind of, I thought about it a little bit, but I didn't want to pay too much mind to it just because, I wanted to focus on the upcoming season, make sure, that I finished strong for my potential senior year. But, definitely getting that information, it was something that, I pushed to the back of my head. And, I think it would have depended on a lot of things. If we went really far in the tournament this year and, I played really well, then, I probably wouldn't have used that extra year. But, I think there's a lot more things that I can do on the basketball court. And, COVID kind of made it tough to get in a real rhythm and real groove for me. So I think, I'm just going to take this once in a lifetime opportunity and use it to play another year.
Ultimately, were you originally thinking you might stay another year at Vermont, or were you kind of wanting to plan on going somewhere else, going to where obviously you're going to St. John's now, but did you originally plan to use to go to Vermont again, or what were your thoughts about that in terms of that?
Yeah, I didn't really think about it that much. Obviously, um, I wasn't even expecting this. Obviously, I thought I was going into my senior year, I was just going to graduate and start my pro career. But I didn't really think much about it because this, Vermont's a great place for me. I've had a great 4 years here, great experience with, amazing coaches, great players. The fan base is unbelievable. You go anywhere in this town, college town of Burlington, and there's people that will say hi and congratulate you on the game or whatever. It's just a great environment to be around. So I definitely didn't see myself leaving this place and playing somewhere else for college. But I think for my goals down the road, it's definitely the right choice for me. And I'm really excited to go into a school and a program like St. John's, and they have a great fan base as well. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback off of social media and stuff. So I'm really excited to get in there and start working.
We're gonna wrap up talking about St. John's and all that, but I want the fans to get to know you a little bit more and really where you come from and how you really became the guy you are today. So let's kind of head back. You're originally from Canada, and that's where you started playing and really create your whole high school name. But take us through that. You also go to a school, Bill Carlos, where you become the all-time leading scorer. Incredible career where they also produced many other top players. Kind of take us through that. Why did you decide to originally attend there?
Yeah, so obviously I went to Bill Carter Secondary School. Played under Coach Charles Marcos, who is one of the best coaches that I've ever had in my life, and even bigger than that, he's a better person. And he's always been a mentor for me. And basketball has kind of always been a passion for me since I was little. Um, Growing up in Canada, obviously we have the Toronto Raptors. Vince Carter era. I think that really jump started a lot of talent in Canada basketball. But also I was a big Allen Iverson fan. So growing up, I just kind of loved the game. I loved being outside playing against guys, 10, 11 years older than me. It didn't matter. And I kind of just once I got to high school, I started becoming a gym rat and just put in a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and as a result, I kind of got to where I'm at. And also, I've had great support system. Shout out to my parents for believing me and putting me in good situations. And that's kind of how I've become the person I am today.
I want to go a little bit deeper into Canadian basketball because, as you said, it really hasn't always been a big thing. We know Canada's really just a newer sport. It's really starting to grow a lot more during this time period. Yeah, as you mentioned, like Vince Carter really was the guy that started a lot of it. Now we know this whole new era, Kyle Lowry, DeMar, obviously Kawhi winning a championship. Like that's really jump started even more. But how much of this young youth development of basketball? Like how much have you seen it grow since you started playing to even where it is today?
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable because, Canada, you think of Canada and 10, 15 years ago, it's just a hockey country. hockey country. Blue Jays had a good run, back-to-back championships, stuff like that. So, basketball wasn't really a big thing. And, I think when the Toronto Raptors were formed, a lot of people outside of Toronto and Canada as a country, thought it was a joke and didn't really take it seriously. But, it was just something about having guys like Vince Carter, Chris Bosh, those guys, Damian Stoudemire, they really kind of sparked basketball in that area. And I think you can see in the greater Toronto area, there's a lot of great hoopers that come out that playing at the D1 level and pro, but now it's even branching out to guys across the country. Obviously, Steve Nash, being on the West Coast in BC, and, a guy from Nova Scotia just had his first NBA points, Nate Darling, in the league. So it's definitely becoming a huge thing. And I think part of it is the development piece has grown a lot. And I think also the exposure is starting to increase. Kids don't have to go to the United States to go to prep school as much now. They're, building institutes such as Athlete Institute, Orangeville Prep, schools like that people can stay at home, stay in the country and get that exposure. So it's been great.
When you were back in high school, obviously it was around the time where the Andrew Wiggins phenom was going on. A lot of us have a guy, Anthony Bennett, a lot of these different guys were out there, but now obviously you see this new era where those guys, there's at least 2 or 3 guys in the top 20, 25 of every single recruiting class now. And there's now going to become, when the Olympics come up, the only a second country besides America to be able to come out with entire roster of Canadian players. Like, what's the overall vibe? Like, how do you feel like the people, the fans out there, just the typical people, how much more are they embracing the game of basketball out there?
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable. And I think the best example of that is the Toronto Raptors championship run. We had this thing called Jurassic Park at Toronto, and they basically had, because the games were sold out, they would have people outside of the stadium, and it was just an unbelievable environment. And, you'd get on the radio, or if you flip on the TV, there'd be people coming from Vancouver, which is all the way from the west side, or Northwest Territories, where people don't even know where that is if you're not from Canada. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable that people would fly all that way just to go to a game and not even sit in the arena. They would just be out there at Jurassic Park with the whole experience. So I think, that whole situation was crazy. And I think, it's definitely inspired a lot of young kids and young athletes. And I think, it's just going to continue to rise in Canada.
And when you've been in college now, you see a lot of the other guys that you kind of grew up with. You've seen, what's that just going up, either matching up against them or just kind of following them, watching other guys with about the same dream you are, playing the collegiate game from Canada?
No, it's great. I think especially at a young age, a lot of guys have the dream of, getting to the Division I level and getting to the NBA and stuff like that. And, to see a lot of people that I played against, played with, being able to achieve that dream. It's just great to see. And I'll always support them, even if I don't know them as well, I'll just support them from afar. I think the more Canadian basketball players that we can get in, the D1 level, professional level, it's just going to, continue to spark, the younger generation to want to push for that. And no, I think it's amazing.
Now, you're not only from Canada now, that's where you're from, but I mean, you have a lot of nationality and you also play in America now. What's it like having all this different nationality and different countries you can represent? Like, what's it like having that behind you?
Yeah, no, it's definitely nice. Coming from a Jamaican family, both my parents were born and raised there. And, I think kind of getting, a taste of different cultures, it's huge. It kind of helps. It makes me really appreciate, the situation I'm in and, kind of the opportunity that I have, because, I talked to my parents and, they didn't have anything like this, growing up in, Jamaica, which, they didn't have a great situation. And, so for me, it's kind of just like, I'm embracing it. There's pros and cons about, each country and each, situation that you go to, but I think it definitely opens my eyes, and it can definitely, make myself feel that I'm really humble and really blessed to just be in the situation that I'm in.
Now, you played for Team Canada and U17 FIBA a few years back. Have you also considered, now obviously the Olympics come up, or just playing different national games? Have you ever considered playing for the Jamaican team? Like, what's your thoughts on possibly playing for another national team, or even going back to Canada and playing another team? Like, What's your thoughts on playing on an Olympics or just a national team again someday?
Yeah, no, I would love to play for Canada for the Olympics one day, and that's definitely something down the road that I think is a realistic goal. I think for me, yeah, so I'm actually going to be able to participate. Well, I got invited to a training camp, but I'm not going to be able to go to it just because I'm going to be at St. John's during the summer working out. But they have great staff over there. That's always, since I've been on that team, they've always welcomed me to the training centers, or if they have open workouts with other guys that are pros that have played on the senior men's national team and stuff like that. They're very accommodating. So yeah, that's definitely a dream. It's funny, when I went to Jamaica, right before I committed to Vermont in my senior year of high school, and one of my uncle knows the assistant coach for the U21 Jamaican team, and I was able to work out with those guys. And it's a funny story because the head coach actually believed that he thought I was trying out, but I was just there to work out. And so we finished the workout, whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, I want you on the team." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not trying out. I'm just here to get some running." You know what I mean? But it was just a funny experience, and I think that would definitely be another thing that'd be pretty cool to play for Jamaica. I don't know how they're doing. I don't think they're doing too well financially with holding up for basketball, but that's definitely something that I think my parents would be pretty proud of too.
I've met a few different guys. I know like, they obviously Jamaica is not the most advanced basketball country right now, and they have a lot of guys
Mm-hmm.
that could. Not a lot of guys obviously from that kind of, but a lot of guys that have the parents scenario like you did, where you guys are able to go play out there. What would
Yeah.
it be like though? Are there other guys you have talked about to possibly go and say, okay, we could possibly team up and form a nice team? Is there anyone out there you've talked to about the possibility of playing for Jamaica someday?
Yeah. So one of my childhood, he's basically a brother. He's basically a brother to me. Micah McIntosh. He's currently playing at Mercyhurst in Pennsylvania, and he also comes from a Jamaican family. His older brother played at Illinois State and then Oregon for 2 years, and so I've talked to him multiple times about it, and he's definitely on board. But it's just hard with situation and stuff like that. I don't know how good we would match up against the other teams. So yeah, no, it's definitely been something we've talked about briefly, but I'm not sure if that's gonna happen anytime soon. But you never know.
On the other hand, though, let's go back to high school a little bit. And that's what I said. You become the all-time leading scorer, and you also get to go play with a lot of other elite players. Some of the guys like Emmanuel Miller, we know what he's doing out there at Texas A&M. Cordell
Yeah.
Charles is going to announce his commitment pretty soon. He's a star player. This kind of goes
Mhm.
on, but what was it just kind of growing up playing with those type of elite players throughout high school?
Yeah, so it's funny because I know especially a lot of the younger guys. Like I just knew they were going to be really good before they even knew it. Because um, you know, Coach Charles really he's a really good coach, but he's even a better teacher, and he sees potential in people, and he's able to kind of push them to their goals. And I think there's a lot of guys on my teams in high school that he tried to push, and they either went up or they just couldn't take it. And I think that was a good indicator if they were built for the Division I level. But no, it's great. It's really good. And even a guy like Sam Alamatu, who's actually coming to Vermont next year. I've seen a lot of those guys, and it's funny, a lot of those guys are in the Ajax area, where I'm from, or in that kind of general region. So just growing up with those guys, competing with them, trying to give them any pieces of advice that I can, it's great. It's amazing.
Mentioned some of those young guys, but other guys that are currently in high school, so guys like 19 or under kind of guys. Who are some special guys that you've either personally seen or you've heard about? I know there's guys like we see Josh Primo, Charles Bediako, Elijah Fisher's a phenom, that young guy. Like, who are some of the guys that you really think are special up and coming out there from Canada?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I don't pay attention too much to the high school. I know there's a load of dudes that are coming up and probably going to be a problem at the D1 level, but I think for me and just how I am, I kind of just stick with the guys that I know, and I grow up and I talk to them. There's a few guys in high school, obviously I said Sam. You talked about Cordell. And then, there's one of my little bros, and he's gonna if he sees this, he's gonna kill me because I said he's my little brother, but he's a freshman at Cal. He's gonna be a sophomore next year. He's gonna be really good. And I think there's something about kind of seeing the people that you work out with and train with, and basically in a sense live with, kind of do really well. And so I think those guys are. There's a list of other guys also that are on the come up. So I think it's going to be huge, especially getting in the next few years. You're going to continue to see guys in the draft. At least 1 or 2 Canadians in the draft each year. So I'm really excited to see what the young guys what the young guys can do.
I also mentioned that you were the all-time leading scorer, still are the all-time leading scorer at your school. What was that like? Can I take us through what it was like getting that accolade to your name?
Yeah, Crothers, I mean, I think for me, it's funny because I'm pretty sure I was close to scoring around 2,000 points at Crothers, but they didn't have an official count. But yeah, no, I think for me, it's kind of just being lucky enough to have great mentors in front of me. You look at a guy like Trey Bell Haynes, who was two-time player of the year in the America East, and he's playing really well in Germany right now. He had some more guys, Rashawn Brown, who played in the CEBL. There's a bunch of guys, DeAndre Bernard, and they kind of just paved the path for me to really play well. And Coach Charles just allowed me to play on the senior team at a young age. I was able to earn my stripes, and I was going up against guys like Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Adams when we played Brewster, and I was only a 15, 16-year-old kid. So I think seeing that level of play at that young of an age really kind of just catapulted my ability to score the basketball and just to play at a higher level when I got to that 11th, 12th grade year.
So you end up going through that recruiting process. You also went to choose Coach Becker in Vermont. Why was it the school you really chose? Like, what's it about them that made you want to commit there?
Yeah, so for me, obviously having someone like Trey, who I look up to as a mentor, a big brother, and he just talking about his experience at Vermont, I was like, all right, I was pretty confident going in there. I know what I was going to get. I think the coaching staff did a really good job of just making me feel welcome. And when I went on my visit, that's when it kind of really sealed the deal. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of places that you kind of go visit and right away after you fly on the way back home, you're like, I really want to go here. And that was kind of the impression I got. And that was just, my gut feeling. So, I went with it. I feel like for my situation, I didn't want to do a prep year. A lot of people were telling me, stay one more year, you're going to get high major looks, stuff like that. I was like, I've played high school for 4 years, and I want to start with my college career and get my college degree. And they offered my kind of program that I wanted to get into, exercise science, and this university is one of the best for healthcare sciences and nursing and health sciences. So I think it was just for me, I went off my gut, and I knew the first year I was going to have to really grind, obviously playing behind Trey and Ernie Duncan and some other great guards in the America East. So I think it worked out really well, though. I think I had a really good career, and winning 2 conference titles was really nice. And going to the tournament, March Madness, was an unbelievable experience.
Obviously, you have a coach for an extended amount of time, Coach Becker. Take us through how your bond grew, though. Obviously, having a coach for 4 years is a special thing. Like, how much have you seen your bond grow from your recruiting process, obviously up until right now, or you're graduating as a senior?
Yeah, I think like any relationship you build, it's only going to get better with time. And I think I really got to give it to Coach Becker for kind of pushing me as a freshman. I think he saw a lot of potential in me, and just being able to push me, and me being the type of guy that I'm coachable and I can take coaching. So I didn't really I never took it personal. And I think after that first year, I kind of got out of my shell a little bit. I was a pretty introverted guy coming into college just because, in high school I was just all about academics, basketball, and that's it. And so I think I was able to kind of get out of my shell a little bit, talk to him, build that relationship with him and the rest of the coaching staff. And, um, you know, as we continue to win and win, I think it just grew. And yeah, we definitely had our ups and downs and our bumps in the road, but I think it strengthened our relationship in the end. So it was great.
Is there a certain memories to kind of specifically that you look at, you kind of remember when you first think of Coach Becker? Like, what's the first memory that comes to mind? A funny story or just a bath on the court, off the court? Like, what's the first memory that comes to mind when you think about Coach Becker?
Um, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of good memories. I think, and this is not a knock on him at all, but I think I remember my sophomore year. I had started every game, and he decided to bench me the next game because the game before we played UMBC, we lost them, and I kind of broke off a play that he called, and he got into me a little bit, and I was upset. Obviously, we lost, and it got into me. But I think it's funny because then he benched me that next game, and that was probably one of my worst games ever I played. And then the next 3 or 4 games, I think I averaged about what was it? I think I averaged like 21 points in the next 4 games, and we ended up winning the championship. And I think just going from that stage of him really getting into me, benching me, and that was the only game I didn't start that year, into winning that championship, and then just embracing that moment, cutting the nets and hugging him and all that stuff. I think it was just like it just showed how strong our relationship was because obviously it could have been easily he could have got into me and I could have gave up on him, but he didn't give up on me. I didn't give up on him, and I think that's one thing that kind of just shows why he's such a great coach, and why he's won so many games, why he's won so many championships.
Overall, throughout the course of your 4-year career there, you guys don't ever not win the American East Championship, regular season championship at least.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an easy task to do. 4 years straight of just dominating the conference. How are you guys able to do that?
It's definitely a formula for a winning culture, and I was blessed and lucky enough to step into that right away. As a freshman, there was 6 seniors that kind of just showed all the young guys, all the underclassmen, like how to work, how to go about practice every day, how to approach games, and I think that kind of culture and that camaraderie kind of just helps you, push the program in the right direction. And I think, it starts from the coaching staff and goes to the players. And, one great thing about the coaching staff is they let the players kind of lead the team. And it's almost like a player-led program, in a sense, which is, very rare, especially at the D1 level. So I think it's definitely a combination of, the coaches, their mentality, the culture, but I think it goes also, the managers, the athletic trainers, the strength conditioning coach, everyone involved with the program feels that it's like a family program, a family, it's a brotherhood. And so I think, that kind of togetherness and that connectedness is kind of like makes Vermont really special, and kind of is really the main reason why we've done so well. And obviously the coaches do their job and recruit great players as well, and great talent. But I think the mentality and the culture is even more important than the talent that we have at the school. And I think it's just that's kind of just been the secret recipe, the formula, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think it's not really a secret, honestly. Winning is a hard thing to do, and obviously I wish we could have won 4 conference championships. We won 2, which isn't bad, but it's definitely a full team effort thing. And, it goes from the players, the manager, all the way down to the media crew, the media staff, and just kind of making sure everyone feels involved.
As you mentioned, that freshman year wasn't necessarily the best things on paper for you. Obviously, a lot more development for you. What
Hmm.
kind of led to that? Like, how would you deal with that? Because you got one star on the end of the year there, but like, what kind of was throughout the course of the year? Like, how would you handle not getting as many minutes as you maybe would have typically wanted, at least what you had dealt with at high school? Like, how would you deal with that freshman year?
Yeah, no, it's definitely hard. I think my expectation of myself was that right away I was going to be able to make an impact. And out of all the freshmen, I played the most that year for my class, but I understood that the coach really trusted the seniors and the guys that played heavy minutes had that experience. The year before they went undefeated in the regular season and won the conference championship. So I kind of understood that, and I think it got to a point where I stopped worrying about my stats and stopped worrying about how many minutes I'm going to play and just kind of every day get better. So if it was practice, I'm getting better by, making sure I'm going hard or getting extra reps, whatever. If it's a game, I'm gonna make sure that, I'm getting mentally prepared and, whatever time I get on the court, I'm just going to make sure that, I'm helping my team win. I think for me, that wasn't it was definitely hard at times, but I think after I accepted it and was able to move past it, I was like, all right, next year I know I'm going to have a bigger role. So let me just really take in, going into practice with Trey and having those battles and learning from, the seniors and just kind of soaking that all in and being able to be a starter for the next 3 years.
And then you come into the one game that year, though. You have really obviously your best game of the year was against at Marquette. You have 20 points, six made threes in that game. What got into that game? Like, what allowed you to have a big breakout game on a big stage too at Marquette, a Power Five, Big East school? Like, what allowed
Mm-hmm.
that breakout to come through?
I think it's just for some reason when there's a big game or bigger competition, and you can kind of see this in all the guys that we've played. We've played Louisville, Kansas, Kentucky, Virginia, St. John's, a bunch of high majors. But for some reason, when we play those high majors, I feel like I rise to the occasion, and I think that's just kind of how I've always been growing up, especially from when I used to play soccer when I was younger, and whenever we played better teams, I just elevated my game. So I think it's definitely a confidence booster for me, and I think I can make any shot that I take on the court. That's just how my mentality is. And it's funny, I was listening to Jamal Crawford talk on a podcast, and he said he has the exact same mindset as me as far as if one shot goes in, I think I'm hot. You know what I mean? So I think that was just a combination of, they let me get a few easy looks to start. And then after that, it was just, I wasn't going to miss.
And going forward, we do know this upcoming year now, St. John's, you're going to be pretty much playing against a Power Five, a top school, high major, practically every game next year. So that's something we can see. You're going to be on almost every single night then?
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's definitely not easy to replicate that type of performance every day, but I think for me and the system that Coach Anderson has I'm definitely going to have a lot of opportunities to, kind of show what I can do. And, I'm hopefully Champagne comes back and, we have a great core group of guys that play really hard, play really smart, and are just good overall basketball players. So I think I'm definitely going to get a lot of looks, and because, they're not going to be able to try to double team me or deny me the ball like they did this past year in the America East, because there's going to be a lot of other guys that can make plays. So I think that just opens up opportunities for me to knock some shots down.
Without doubt. Well, let's into your sophomore year then, because then you become a starter for practically all of that one game. And you guys end up making the
Mm-hmm.
tournament that year. It's obviously the biggest goal for anybody. Take us through that year. Really was your
Mm-hmm.
breakout year, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal per game. Like, what went into that breakout? Just take us through that year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that summer I really made sure when I got back home, I got in the gym with my AU coach, my trainer, um, you know, continue to get my body right, fix some eating habits too. A lot of little things kind of went into that year to try to make sure I elevated my game. And, I think I had obviously more opportunity to produce and, I was playing a lot more minutes. But that was just an amazing year. I really wish I thought we were going to beat Kansas, honestly, going into that year. We started the game really well, and then LeGerald Vick had to have 8 threes on us, even though he, was not a shooter before that. And, he decided just to go off on us. But, it was a great experience playing at Kansas, sold out crowd. Louisville at the Yum Center, that was another great venue. But yeah, just going to the tournament, playing Florida State. And the great thing about that was it was in Hartford, Connecticut, so we had a lot of our fans able to travel, and essentially it was almost like a home game. It honestly really felt that way, and I think having that support kind of just behind us that whole year made it really special.
I want to kind of go behind the scenes a little bit because we do know that now you're going to be high major players a little bit different, but all guys that are at that low major, mid major kind of level, it's a different mentality. We see you guys always look up to the high majors, like they get everything they want. It's all a lot nicer. Obviously, you guys have to have a different mentality. It's a dogfight. It's a lot more different kind of mentality you have to have being at a lower mid major. Take us to that a little bit. Like, how did that establish in you being at not necessarily the biggest school? Like, what kind of mentality did that establish in you?
Yeah, I think for me growing up, I kind of established my own mentality of always being hungry. I'm truly blessed and thankful to be able to grow up in a two-parent household, and I didn't have to worry about um, what I was going to eat, or having a place to sleep and stuff like that. And but at the same time, I still build that mentality through sport, that I was always overlooked. I always had a chip on my shoulder. So coming to Vermont, obviously I knew it was going to be that same kind of mentality with the team, you know, um, having an undefeated season, and being one of the best mid majors in the country, but still not get the respect. So I think obviously for me that kind of was just naturally instilled in me before I got here. But I think for sure that definitely continued to get built in me, and I think that is a big thing that makes University of Vermont basketball why they're so good and why they've been so good in the past decade.
You head into your junior season. That has been your best year so far. Obviously, the senior year could have been a little better, but a lot of options we already discussed came up this year. But that junior year really was a huge year for you. 14, 3, 3, 1, first team, all AEC. Take us to that year. Like, what really led to that year and leading the high conference 3-point percentage? Like, what level were you able to take your game that year, and how did that all come to be?
Yeah, I think that year was really the year where I took a huge step mentally, my mental preparation, visualization, meditation, stuff like that. So we're lucky enough to have a sports psychologist on staff, our Shapiro Miller here, and my AU coach also kind of talked to me about the importance of meditating and stuff like that. And honestly, I think that was kind of just where my confidence was super high, and I was getting into the gym a lot and getting shots up, and I just felt like I couldn't miss at all. And so obviously it helps to have a NBA player playing along, an NBA player, Anthony Lamb, who draws a lot of attention from the defense. So I was getting great looks that year, and I just felt like I could make, if it was an open shot, it was going in. There's no thinking about it, because I've seen it before the game happened. I saw it when I was doing my visualization. So I think that was a huge thing. And the coaches just kind of instilled that confidence in me as well, and let me, just play the game of basketball. And I think that was just kind of the reason why I had that great of a year.
You mentioned Anthony. Obviously, you said he's in the NBA now. Just take us through what you really took away from being around him.
Oh yeah, no, when I was a freshman and I came in during the summertime, he kind of really just helped me feel at home. Someone really easy to talk to, and just to get to know. And the biggest thing is he's a worker. He's a dog. So I think for me, just being around him, made me work harder, made me want to be great. And I think, that junior, going into my junior year, actually that summer, we also had Coach Hamlet Tibbs, who's assistant at Albany now, but he had Ant doing, NBA type workouts in the morning at like 6 a.m. We'd watch film at like 5:45 on some days. And, me and him kind of started our own little breakfast club where, for the next 3-4 weeks in the summer, we were waking up 5:30, 5:45, getting in work early before, we had lift that day, or if we were working camp or whatever. So I think, that was also a big thing for the reason why I had such a great junior year, because, I was in the gym, hours before people were waking up to get ready to come to Patrick. So I think, that was just kind of a big thing. And he's, I still talk to him to this day, and, we text, and he's always been a great mentor for me.
So then you head into this upcoming year. As we said, obviously a lot of stuff went down throughout the course of the year. But overall, you end up leaving your career as a 24th all-time leading scorer, 8th most threes, and that could have been a lot higher had you just probably played the extra 10 or so games you just could have had if COVID and all that didn't get a factor. But overall, you look back at it now. Like, what's your thoughts on your career? Like, what's your favorite memories? Just kind of take us through the overall glimpse of your overall Vermont career.
Yeah, no, I think, looking back at it, people ask me this all the time, if I would have done a prep year, and I said no, I wouldn't have. I want to change anything, because I think, God always has a plan, and I think for me, being here, having that experience and that opportunity to play and start for 3 years, it was huge. And I think, my senior year didn't end how I wanted to. It would have been nice to get the third ring, number 3, but I think the combination of just the coaching staff, the players that are here, the fan support, regardless if it was, I've had a good game or a bad game, there's always that constant fan support. I think that kind of just, really helped me kind of had a great career at Vermont. And, it's just, I think for me, as far as memories, there's a lot of memories. I don't really have like one thing that I can really think about, but I will say that the sophomore year, the semifinal game where I hit 8 threes was pretty special, especially just because it was at home, and it was almost like Marquette Part 2, but it was just a different feel because we had, sold out Patrick Gymnasium, and it was just a crazy experience. But I think there's, a lot of things, Bahamas trip my freshman year when we won that showcase, Mohegan Sun junior year, beating St. John's, which was like the one high major team that we beat in my 4-year career here. Was, I think those are all really notable, times where, it's just like, wow, like this is what, Vermont basketball is about. And these memories I'm going to remember forever. So no, they've been great.
End up putting your name in the transfer portal. We know you go to St. John's, but there's a lot of schools that reach out to you. I know you had a lot of different interests. You're talking to a lot of people, Colorado, LMU, some of the schools in the mix. Who really came it down to? Obviously, St. John's is where you're heading, but what other schools were heavily in the mix, and who was maybe your second option if there was one?
Yeah, I think Colorado and LMU were rounded up my top 3. I think there was a lot of schools that reached out to me initially, and some of them tapered off, or some of them were looking for me to play a role that I didn't really see myself getting better at, or, really excelling. So that's the reason why, a lot of those schools kind of went off. And, I think it was a tough decision because all the final 3 schools, their coaches were all great. They really expressed their interest in me. So I think it just came down to my gut and what I felt, was right. And I think Coach Anderson has a great resume behind him and turning around programs. And, the year we played them, they finished 9th in the Big East. This past year, they finished 4th. So they're trending in the right direction. And I think they're definitely have a winning culture, and I want to be a part of that. So I think that was the biggest thing for me kind of going into that.
Overall, now we know you're going to Coach, you said, and Coach Anderson, who is one of the better coaches we've seen at turnaround programs, like you mentioned. But what's your initial conversations been like? What's like off the court, just kind of talking to him? Like, what's his personality like?
No, he's a great guy. He's a great coach. He really expressed early that it's not all just about basketball. He wants to have a relationship with his players. He's talking about, hopefully when COVID stuff, winds down, whatever, he invites guys over to eat dinner and this and that. So he seems like a really, really genuine coach. But the other thing was like, he told me that, he's going to coach me. He's going to coach me hard. And I told him, that's what I want. That's how we get better here. So I'm really excited to get down there this summer. Get used to the environment, talk to the coaches, the different coaching staff, pick their brains because they all have amazing basketball experience, whether they played or whether they coached. And also just, being around those guys and, seeing, what kind of differences, I see there compared to Vermont. Maybe, I can even bring in some leadership, just being able to kind of come from a place that has a long history of winning.
Let's look over this team real quick because we look at a lot of guys that could be returning. Obviously, the big guy is Julian. We know he's a guy that if he comes back, he can be a centerpiece of a team that could legitimately become a contender. Like he's a special player, but beside him, you have a lot of special guys that are returning. You got Posh, who's all freshman team, or freshman player of the year. He's a special contender player. Greg, Marcellus Dillon, another special guy, going to be a sophomore next year. Just this overall young core of guards, like how special are you guys?
Yeah, no, I think we're really good. I think we can be really good. And the biggest thing that I seen from watching their synergy film this year was just how hard they play on both ends. And, Posh does a great job of picking up full court and, getting into, his offensive player. And he's, you can tell he's a pest, he's a dog. So I'm really excited to kind of come into that program and really be able to continue that tradition. And I think, defensively is definitely somewhere where I think I can improve a lot. And I think, I've been able to guard, high major guards. So I think, for me, it's just a matter of, getting to work, getting used to everything and, just being able to compete in the Big East and, get to the tourney for next year.
Let's say Julian does come back, and I think he is a pro, or as the BGM, NBA GMs view him as that right now, or maybe next year or the following year. But I think eventually he will be in the NBA. But if he does decide to come back to this team, how much more special does that make you guys?
Oh yeah, no, it'll be great, and I've played with a lot of great big men, college career, high school career, but I think just his ability to score at all three levels. He's such a versatile scorer, and I think for me, I'm gonna help him get more shots, and he's gonna help me get more shots. And I think it's gonna be a real problem for teams to be able to kind of zone in on him and kind of give him a lot of attention because that's essentially what happened my junior year with Anthony. A guy that averaged 20 a game his junior year, he ended up averaging 16 or 17 his senior year, but that was because so many teams were giving him so much attention, and that just gives me an opportunity to get open shots. And if other guys around Julian can shoot and make and take open shots, then it's going to be really hard to guard us.
Without a doubt. Well, a few things before I let you go. One which is, as you talk about, there is the dog mentality to play at St. John's, and you are a great scorer, a great shooter, but not a lot of people talk about your defensive knack too. You have been a guy that's constantly always been a top 3 or 2 guy and steals on your team every year at Vermont. How about your defensive end? Like, talk about what you're going to bring defensively to St. John's.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing first is just being able to adjust defensively how they defend. Because here at Vermont, it definitely took me, a little while, probably just under a year to really get acclimated and really understand, the defensive schemes and the principles. At Vermont, we're not really a steal-oriented team. We're kind of, we're patient. We play in the gaps, and we kind of let the ball either come to us or we cause teams to take, contested shots. So I think coming into St. John's, kind of understanding their system and how they want to press and how aggressive they are defensively, I think that's going to actually help me because, especially in high school, I was a big steal guy. And, obviously I didn't want to overextend myself here at Vermont. So I think getting the opportunity to kind of be more aggressive on the defensive end without fouling might be a really, really big thing for me.
Absolutely. Well, something I was like wrapping up discussing is building a legacy for yourself. And we know now your final chapter of college, but also we know now you want a pro chapter as well. When you finally do wrap up playing the game of basketball, what do you ultimately want to be remembered for what you achieved both on and off the court?
Yeah, I think I definitely want to be, any coach or player or teammate that I've played with. I think I want them to say that I was the hardest working guy on their team, at all times. And I think, in high school, I really kind of displayed that. I think Vermont displayed that, and I can't wait to do that. The same thing at St. John's. So I think, just being someone that's always working, on my game, I think that's something that I would definitely want to leave. And I think off the court, just obviously being, respectable. I think, having a opportunity to create change. I think especially this past year, maybe past 2 years, with a lot of the social injustice occurrences, I think using my college platform as a way to speak out to let people know to vote, let people know that racism is a huge thing that's still going on in the United States and across the globe. So I think, the biggest thing for me is when I'm done playing off the court, how can I help others in need? How can I help, our world kind of move forward and progress? That's why I look up to guys like LeBron that have done so many great things. You see the I Promise School, how he's giving back to his community in Akron. So I think for me, that's going to be the biggest thing. I'm definitely really excited once I do have the opportunity to give back to Ajax and to give back to, my local basketball clubs and soccer clubs and stuff like that. And, kind of just be able to have a positive change on my community where I grew up.
We've talked about all different kind of stuff, but I know you being a believer, obviously the biggest thing is God. And kind of gets to your faith though. How's your relationship growing with God, and kind of discuss how God's helped get you to the point you're at today?
Yeah, no, I think, my faith is definitely, I'm definitely trying to strengthen my relationship with God every day. And, my parents really, they pushed me at a young age to find my faith. They kind of, once I got older, they kind of let me, decide for myself. And I think, especially in college, it's really easy to get distracted and to kind of lose your faith in God and kind of, so I think for me, especially going into this year, into this summer, and with a lot of time on my hands, especially in quarantine this past year, I've been able to, really kind of dive into more scripture. And, I always, before every game, I think it was starting high school, before every game, I make sure I pray. And, it's a big thing at home to pray before I eat, and, always, give glory to God because, he just put me on this earth. And I think I'm really blessed and thankful that he's allowed me to have a talent in playing basketball, because it's allowed me to do great things, get a free education. I've been to so many great places, Mexico, Spain, France, just for basketball. So I think, that's all, glory to God. And I think that's definitely something that I'm going to continue to try to strengthen and improve as I grow older.
Is there a specific moment you look at and you say that you've really seen God show up for in your life the most?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know if there's a specific time, but I think every time, I think, it can be the littlest things. It can be something like, me walking down the street and, seeing someone that's homeless, or seeing, stuff like that. And I think, I'm just obviously just so lucky and blessed, because I know a lot of people that I grew up with that didn't have, two-parent households and didn't have the finances to be able to participate in sport. So I think all that is, his work and his doing. And I think, that's something that I always am so thankful for. And, there's not really one situation that kind of, jumps out, because I think it's just on display, every second of every day. So that's kind of how it is.
Absolutely, man. One final thing for you. Give St. John fans your three biggest goals you have set for your final year with them.
Yeah, three biggest goals. I think first goal is finish first in the Big East regular season. Second goal is to win the Big East conference tournament. And then third, win national championship. Why not? Why not? You know what I mean? Why not? So I think it's going to be a really exciting year. I'm really excited to see what we can do. I think, and in my experience here at Vermont, I think the biggest thing is to focus on, how good can we be in March? And, regardless of, we might not be a top team in the Big East, regular season, whatever, but how much development have we made since, August, September, and are we playing our best basketball in March? And I think if we, continue to improve and develop, I think we'll be in a really good situation, regardless of the seed that we're in the regular season. And, I think from there, as you can see every year in the March Madness, there's teams that, out of nowhere are winning and doing really well. So I think it's just one step at a time, but I think those are kind of three goals that I see myself wanting to accomplish. And, they're all team goals because for me, I don't think at this point the individual goals are as important. I think if our team is winning, the individual stuff will take care of itself. So,
Absolutely, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking time to come on today, and congrats on the commitment once again. I can't wait to see what guy got next for you, man. Of
all right, man. Appreciate it, Zach. Thank you.
course, those will come on, man. God bless.
All right. Peace.